possible to change things? Can I rise above the flood? Will the process cleanse my soul, or is it always in the blood?
Okay, I want to welcome everybody back to the In the Blood podcast. If I sound a little weird today, I think I'm coming down with something. I keep on coughing and having like a weird case of the random ahems. So if I disappear or I sound weird or I just sound otherwise not like me, that's what's going on this end.
And he means more weird than he did last week. Yeah.
Right. Right. And I think I've gotten past the point of apologizing for long pauses and breathing noises. I think everybody at this point is just used to like us both being like a hybrid of William Shatner and Darth Vader. Anyways, where was I going with this? I was introducing the show.
Yeah.
Did I mention In the Blood? Because that's what we're in
the blood.
Yeah, that's where we are. That's what we're doing. My name is AC Bergen-Fischer, and with me as
usual,
as a lot of the time, is Jason the Dice Man Moore. And yeah, because it's late where I am and I'm not feeling super fantastic, and because Jason has a way better idea for topic today, I'm going to shut the hell up and let him tell me what we're talking about today.
I've been trying to get you to do that for weeks. Actually, what I want to talk about today is the unpredictability of life. Now, it's like when you go outside and sometimes you walk at the exact right time and like a drip falls off of your roof and hits you right square in the top of the bald head.
Mm.
Or a bird happens to poo on you when you just go in that one spot. Like the events that had to happen leading up to that, for that to happen, just to me is absolutely fascinating. I find it, how do I put that? Like life is inherently unpredictable. There's seemingly random events influencing our daily experiences and decisions. Like I just said, the raindrop that, okay, this time, just misses your head. The accident when you're driving down the road and you just narrowly avoid because you left a minute later than you had originally wanted to. The thing I want to talk about is like the randomness of these moments.
As you mentioned, I'm thinking about a couple different instances that happened to me. One was when I was in Europe and we were leaving the hotel to go to the, what do they call it? The tube in London, the subway. And we were just outside the hotel and it's like, oh no, I got to poop. And I ran back inside to use the bathroom. We ended up missing the train that we were supposed to get on. It ended up being like a gigantic fatal collision in the subway at that exact time. Had I not had that bathroomatory, look it up, emergency, I would have been, kind of ketchuped all over the train. Mm-hmm. And, at the time I thought, well, maybe there's a higher power who's got my hand got its hand in the situation. Now I realize that just blind, dumb luck, which is still a beautiful thing. Oh,
yeah. The role of timing. It's amazing how timing can have profound effects on our lives.
Yeah, I was thinking about like another time. My dad was on a bus in South America, and the windows open all the way, so you can sort of like sit there with your elbow up on the window hole. Mm-hmm. And he had a little itch on his nose, and he took his arm out of the window to scratch his nose at the exact moment the bus got T-boned. Like his arm would have been just gone.
Yep.
So I don't know, just the timing. I mean, it's always there. Just
or it's not.
Well, fair enough. I mean, a lot of people, they get fucked by the timing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, opposite what we're talking about. We're talking about the lucky side, but there's the other side where had you left a minute later or 10 minutes earlier,
you might have ended up married.
Yeah, or you might have ended up not in the car accident.
Yeah.
I find it just astronomical how a precise amount of events have to happen in order for you to miss something. Like sometimes I drive like total maniac. Well, I drive really fast. And there's times when I've been driving down the highway and I see somebody in an accident and the police aren't even there yet. And I'm thinking, okay, if I left like 3 minutes earlier, road pizza.
Is it wrong that I'm now craving pizza?
No, I don't think so.
Anyways, that was in poor taste, but whatever.
Actually, I don't think it was poor taste. I think it would have tasted rather well.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm the road pizza, right?
Another thing I feel compelled to mention, just so that the audience knows, is that normally we record in the morning when I'm fresh and not in a really like weird frame of mind. But as we sit down, it's 10 to 1 a.m. where I am, and my thoughts are weird.
That just so you know, that's no different in the morning.
It's like I hide it better in the morning.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. I often like to think about like chance versus fate. The moments they raise questions like, is it chance? Is it fate? Are these instances really random, or do they suggest a greater power or a sense of destiny or design that things are actually happening in the universe?
Okay, I have to ask you.
Yeah.
Like, I personally, without Googleizing an actual definition, I would say chance and fate are the same thing, but it sounds like you're differentiating between the two.
I'm differentiating between the two because, in my opinion, a lot of people put the two separate. Some people believe Christianity, and God has made a path for you, so there's fate, and then there's chance, where once in a while things just happen. And I guess that's not a good example because a lot of Christians will think, well, God had that in the plan anyways. And I'm not saying that to be insulting. I don't know properly how to explain my definition.
Okay, so I Googleized it, and this time I skipped past the dictionary. I thought I was more interested in what other people might have to say. So I found a subreddit where somebody described fate as something that seems destined to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way else it could have happened but this precise way and in that precise moment. Whereas chance, they are saying, is something that comes up unexpectedly.
Or like fluke.
Yeah, you just like happen to be in the right place at the right time. Otherwise, it would not have happened.
Right.
But it seems like this other person, at least, they're seeing some degree of overlap between the two, though they're not necessarily the same thing. And I think I'm still going to put them both in the same pot, but that's neither here nor there. I'm rambling and cutting you off.
Well, and again, this is a great time to do a shout out, and for the people that are listening, send us an email. Let us know what you think versus chance versus fate with this kind of scenario. Do you think things are planned that way, or do you believe things just happen? Do you believe in coincidence?
I think that would be actually really interesting to hear back, because I mean, if before you mentioned the differentiation between the two, I would have assumed that if you were going to say that like maybe some things were meant to happen, that you would necessarily hold a belief in some sort of a higher power or a God type entity, whereas you're not a religious person, yet you're holding that type of belief, which tells me that this perspective is independent of a faith position, or at least in the religious sense of faith.
So I'm of both schools. I do believe things happen by chance, but I also believe that if I throw a ball north, then the ball's going to go north, and it's going to hit the grass that's north of me. So I do believe that there is like a sequence of events that you can put into action by certain, or that you can put into play by certain actions.
Okay, but it's not necessarily like a
faith.
It's not like a magic being or something. It just basically cause and effect.
Correct.
Okay.
If I take my dog for a walk, then I know, well, because he's not nosy, my partner can't pet my dog. Right? I put that sequence of events that she cannot now pet him if he needs him because I have him out on a walk.
Okay, this has got me looking at the whole thing really, really differently now, because now it's just a case of you can set a ball in motion, but sometimes the wind just blows and things get into motion without any intent behind it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having one of those like Zen moments, like, oh, deep.
Well, as deep as I can go, anyways.
But like when you have these things, like you've talked a little bit about like near misses or lucky hits or whatever. Like, how do you think that would shape your view of the world? Like more specifically, like if you have several near misses in a row, would you start perceiving your own safety differently than if you didn't have these near misses? Would you feel more lucky if you have like all these consistent hits?
I would definitely have the thought of like, well, oh wow, I'm having a good day.
Hmm.
Because in my experience, good and bad happen, throughout a single day. I may drive to work perfectly fine and be happy, ooh, I didn't get in an accident. But then I go to step into work and I slip. Well, would I have slipped if I had left a minute later?
Yeah.
So when things consecutively go right, I think, oh yeah, wow, okay, today's a really good day.
It's like when you catch every green light.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm 54 and I didn't hurt myself today. Yay, that's a win.
That can happen?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm living proof. I mean, I hurt from my past, but I mean nothing new. Nothing today.
You had a day where you didn't add to the list. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Well, I mean, it's weird how like the things we're grateful for, they really shift with the passing of time. Mm-hmm. Because like it used to be like, wow, I'm really, really grateful I met this beautiful girl on the bus, or I'm really, really grateful I found $10 at the park. Now it's like, I'm grateful that my hip doesn't hurt.
Or hurt more. Yeah. But it is, I guess it does make me appreciate more. It makes me show more gratitude. Experiencing things that happen, I believe, can cultivate a sense of gratitude, make you more appreciative of what's here in the now. Because if like when I do slip and hurt myself, well, you know what, I can get up from the slip and fall, but who knows if I would have got up if I was in a car accident.
And I kind of like the way you kind of like frame that in gratitude, because my mind was kind of going in a bit of a different direction, where it's like when I have one of those days where I leave the house and it seems like every bad thing happens. Like, oh, I missed my bus. I slip on the curb. I turn my ankle. My knee hurts. I drop a coin and it rolls down the sewer. Just a bunch of stupid crap. And it just like, I'm imagining this frame of mind where it's like, oh, why did I even leave the house today?
Yep.
But it's more like, whereas I'm in this imaginary scenario, letting the negative snowball, you're doing the similar thing, but you're letting the positive snowball.
Fair enough.
I was like, wow, like I got hurt, but it could have sucked way worse.
Well, and in the moment, it could look really bad, but sometimes when you're out and about, you meet somebody really cool. 15 bad things happen to you while you're out, but you met somebody really cool. Or, you saw a car you haven't seen for a while and you really enjoyed seeing the car and hearing the car, And then, holy crap, look at me, I'm still alive and I made it home. Even though all that other bad shit happened, I still made it home. Holy crap, that's awesome. Now I can go to sleep. Or have my 15th nap.
No, that whole thing about being grateful for making it home, I mean, that's kind of a big thing. I mean, I used to get really, really irritated when there'd be a traffic jam and then you find out, oh, there's an accident. That's what's causing the slowdown. And then I don't know why, this one point years ago, I'm driving and I realized this person that got in an accident, I don't know if they are alive or dead. I don't know how badly hurt they are. Mm-hmm. I realized that I drive this stretch of road every day. It could have been me. This was just somebody going about their normal daily business, and maybe somebody is at home waiting for this person, having supper on the table, being irritated maybe that so and so is running a little bit late, and they don't know that in a couple hours the police are going to knock on the door and ruin their life, basically.
Right. Well, and the person driving the car could have just got a new car, or new to him car, let's even say. And he's so happy, yeah, I'm driving 15 minutes later after having his new car.
Yeah. Makes you realize that, like death is all around us. I mean, it's kind of making me think that maybe instead of, lamenting having the occasional super boring day, I should just be happy that I came out of it on the right side of the dirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, bringing up that car incident makes me think about like how we reflect on our decisions. Like you said, you were going down the negative path and I was going the positive. It no matter what side you're on, it is making you reflect on your decisions. It's making the instances encourage us to think about what's going on, to be mindful of the happenings of the day.
No, and like having that mindset too, where you're actually reflecting on things and considering them, weighing them. I mean, that's, I think, the first step towards making meaningful change, whether it's meaningfully good or bad. I suppose that's up to us in the moment.
Right.
Sort of just a different ball we're getting rolling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which throws us right into like how we're thinking, how we do things, how things like even reflecting, how does it impact our behavior? The awareness of the near misses, can they influence our behavior? What do you think?
It's weird. I didn't actually know you were going to ask that question, but that's kind of where my mind was going anyways.
Oh, cool.
Because I was thinking, like when you have these things happen, it's like for just a dumb example, say like you're walking your dog every morning in like the same park and at the same spot every morning for like 2-3 days in a row, you find like a $5 bill laying on the path.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas your previous habit might have been like, oh, I'm going to walk a few days here, a few days there, you'd realize that there tends to be a $5 bill here every day. Maybe I'm just going to come this way every single day because I want the $5.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like that metaphorical $5 is there in a bunch of different ways for us. And we start considering the things that seemingly happen at random around us. I think it's human nature to start looking for patterns, and we want to gravitate towards the things that do us good and away from the things that do us bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even you look at you and I, when we first got into the whole podcasting thing, there was no intent behind us getting on a certain path. Our intent was to record some conversations and upload a podcast. The result was when we were listening to an argument that we accidentally recorded and then listening to this argument weeks after the fact and hearing ourselves from each other's perspective, we realized that we need to work on our communication, because in the moment we thought we were sounding some kind of way. We thought our intent actually mattered. But removed from the moment, we realized that we were being kind of shitty with each other. And that sparked this journey that we've been on, this roller coaster ride since 2017, mm-hmm. of like just developing ourselves and our relationships, sometimes at breakneck speed, all because of a happy little accident that in the moment triggered the ever-loving crap out of us.
And actually, I think we listened to the argument because one of us, I think it was me, who was saying, no, you were saying this, and you thought you were saying something different. And no, well, hey, remember, we recorded that one. Man, yeah. Was that a freaking eye-opener?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, it wasn't just, like, yeah, you definitely caught me on the words. Mm-hmm. I think both of us realized that whichever words we were choosing, we didn't sound like we thought we sounded in our heads.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in all honesty, it wasn't all you. There was a lot of crap in there where I thought, no, I'm coming across clear as a bell. It made sense in my head. And then I listened to it and I thought, how the hell did that make sense in anybody else's head?
See, that's just what was so interesting. And I think like the biggest change that it motivated for me was realizing, or learning, I guess is a better way of putting it, that the one person who is least qualified to determine how good of a communicator I am is me.
Mm-hmm.
I can be very, very careful and thoughtful with the message I send, but if the message is not received, guess what? I haven't communicated. I have failed. And I can't put that entirely on you. And that's what I used to do. Is like, holy crap, this guy is an idiot. Why can't he understand these basic words? I could tell by the look on your face, you had a similar thought pattern going on at times too.
Yep.
And it turns out, well, we were both idiots.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned.
Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off there, brother.
No, I was just going to say, and then we learned not to be. And now I'll shut up.
Or, well, less than we used to be anyways. Maybe not me. But that's also what sparked our offenses taken nugget.
That was the moment, wasn't it?
Yep. Because we realized that even though in this specific case we were talking about, and because we used the example of your words being wrong, because I also had words wrong there, we also realized that even though you had said it wrong, I took it the way I interpreted it, not the way it was intended. And at that moment, you brought up a saying that said, I don't remember, one person said it before. Who was it that said it before?
What about the offenses taken?
Yeah.
Matt Dillahunty.
Yeah, he said it once. And then we turned it into a big thing. But you said, well, Matt Dillahunty said this one time I heard. And it made me realize that I could have taken that differently too. Like, yes, you may have said it wrong and you may have agreed that you said it wrong, but I could have taken it wrong and asked because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
In the moment. So the fact that I took it wrong was on me. That wasn't on you. What you said incorrectly was on you. But now that we're word crafting with a lot more precision, and from that point on, how you choose to react to something is up to you. Offense is taken, not given.
Okay, so I think we both did a really thorough job of answering your one simple question. Yes, changes can be motivated.
Yeah, it definitely has an impact on behavior. Yeah, absolutely. It does. Wow, we turned into a mantra.
Okay, so we I can't say we touched on. We went for a long walk through the impact on our behavior. What about the impact on our emotional responses?
Ooh, like being triggered.
Well, it's the thing. I mean, like when you get these near misses, I mean, there's like a whole range of emotional responses we might have. Anything from, I don't know, like relief to anxiety.
Well,
like,
in my, I have to put that out there because I've been pretty shitty sometimes and thought, well, I'm glad that wasn't me.
But I mean, either way, I mean, however you respond to it, I do feel like the emotions when they get wrapped up into these situations where there's a near miss, it definitely puts a spotlight on what might have otherwise been just like a random event that just got dismissed, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about how many times, realistically, like that really makes me think about how many times I've actually been really shitty.
Well, it's just like we frame things in such interesting ways too. Because I remember one time we were in the coffee shop, and it's like that one coffee shop you like to go to. They always put the lid on wrong, and by wrong I mean not my way. Mm-hmm. And so I've got this really obsessive thing where like the lid has to be aligned with the seam on the cup, just so. And while I was adjusting the lid on my cup, I spilled a bit of coffee, and it really wasn't a big deal, just like a little spill. 2 minutes later, we're sitting at our table just drinking our coffee, having completely forgotten about this little spill I had. Somebody else spilled the same amount of coffee. We both started laughing at them.
Yeah. Yeah, we're really shitty people.
We're probably going to lose like all of our audience right now. It's just like letting people see like too far behind the veil. It's like, this is what happens when the defenses are down.
Hey, maybe we should have a conversation, just a regular conversation. Let people see what we're like when we have our defenses down.
Well, if anybody wants to know what that's all about, check out the Missionary Position podcast. You can see where we started. I think that's about as far removed from defenses as we could possibly be.
And you have to search the Missionary Position podcast. If you just search the missionary position, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff about sex and shit.
Yeah. But I'm not embarrassed of any of the sides of my personality, nor do I think you should be embarrassed of any of the sides of yours. We are all of us.
Well, and it's going to show people where we came from too.
Well, yeah, and I think that anybody who's listening, I mean, we're in the same boat with us, whereas like we're different people are going to bring out different sides of us. They're going to see different things about us.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that we're being fake when you catch us in a good moment, or that we're being, you know, the real us is exposed in a moment of anger. It's all the real us.
Right.
And I think over the years, we've done a pretty good job of making sure that that's all been visible. But anyways, that's neither here nor there for today. I'm getting way off topic.
Well, okay, I'll bring us back because something that I've always been fascinated with, and this is about everything, but I'm going to bring it into this topic, the butterfly effect.
Mm.
You know, like when you do miss that raindrop and you feel really lucky, and then you miss slipping on something that you knew had you not seen you would have slipped. The repercussions that come because the guy behind you did slip. Now he's got to go to the hospital because he dislocated his hip. So the butterfly effect of good things happening to us or the negative happening to us. Do you know what I mean?
It's actually kind of a cool thing to think about because, I mean, like just a seemingly simple thing, you know, like pausing to wipe a raindrop off of your forehead changes the pace that you're walking. Maybe the person behind you has to slow down. That ripple effect, it could literally alter history.
Right. Like where small changes or events, they can have a huge outlay on what happens down the road.
Which is wild to think about.
I think I just broke myself by thinking about that.
Okay, well, let's see if we can glue you back together. I mean, you got that giant egg head, so I kind of feel like we'll get all the
Ouch.
king's horses and all the king's men, see if they can put you back together
I was
again.
just going to say I had a Humpty Dumpty moment in my head. Okay.
But I don't know. I feel compelled to go a little bit highbrow here and just bring up the word serendipity. Like, if I say serendipity, I mean, where does that take you in the context of this conversation?
Just the amazing things that happen from unexpected situations that come into our lives, whether they be positive or negative. Because I have had good things come to me because of negative, what is perceived as a negative happenstance. I've had the opportunity to experience crappy things when good things have happened to me. So, serendipity works, in my opinion, both on the positive and the negative of these kind of situations.
No, and I would agree with you there. I mean, I think when most people think about serendipity, they're looking for something beautiful, and they necessarily are going to hinge that on something positive. But I found that even in tragedy, at times there can be a beautiful element.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you look back on 9/11 when that happened, I mean, yeah, that was horrible watching the towers come down. But what was beautiful was when all the planes were grounded, looking and seeing how a country that is used to being so divided all came together, and not just like in the US. It seemed like the whole world came together for that couple of days, realizing that we're all in this together as people.
Right.
And we wouldn't have been able to enjoy that beautiful togetherness if not for that horrific tragedy.
And okay, I totally agree with that statement, but I have to push back just a little bit because I don't know the dictionary term, so you can Googleize it, but I don't think serendipity should necessarily only reflect beautiful things. I think serendipity can have as hard an effect on something negative, because in my opinion, serendipity is the accumulation of events making a situation. So, but in this case, people say, well, that makes a beautiful situation in serendipity. But what if it's an ugly situation through serendipity?
Okay, so I'm with you in how you are defining it to not necessarily be a beautiful thing, but I just decided to Googleize it. According to Oxford Dictionary, serendipity is the occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. Now, I'm following Oxford for the first half of that. It's just we part ways where it's necessarily happy and beneficial, but
I'm right on board with you. Yeah, because you can also have unexpected events that bring on negative ways. Like I'm walking down the driveway, I slip on some leaves. So the first incident is I slip on the leaves. Because I slipped on the leaves, I twisted my ankle. Because I twisted my ankle, I landed hard on my hip. Because I landed hard on my hip, my elbow got smacked on the ground because I tried to avoid hitting my hip. There's 3 serendipitous instances put together, making a serendipitous incident having a negative outcome because I'm broken.
okay, so I altered my Google search a little bit to say serendipity opposite, and there's this little blurb on Quora talking about this. And before I read the little bit, I'm going to say that I think that a lot of the reason that we're defining it the way we do is just because of the way we frame things. We don't have like bad attitudes where we're just going to like see the negative and stop there. We're going to see the negative and see the negative as an opportunity. We're going to look for the positive in the negative, right? Like the negative could be a catalyst towards growth, as we've learned, as we've talked about.
Right.
So what they're saying is, this is the little blurb on Quora. It says serendipity is a skill for making desirable discoveries by accident, a development or happening of an event by chance in a happy or beneficial way. So the opposite would be discovering misfortune. And the example they used was opening a can of worms would not be a fortunate happening. Bad luck. I disagree with that.
That's
Opening
perception.
Exactly. It's all about perception.
Because if you're going fishing, opening up a can of worms is a good thing. If you have tropical fish and they eat worms, opening up a can of worms is a good thing. Like, it's 100% perception.
Yeah. So, and I think that really ties into the season's theme of mindfulness too. I mean, the way we're framing our perceptions. I mean, we can't always control the events that we're going to be exposed to, but we can, to a certain degree, control. Or at least we can develop the ways in which we respond to the unexpected and out of control things that cross our paths.
Right. If you had to pull a random, unpredictable life event that has happened to you, that has changed you, one for the better and one for the worse, so an answer for both, what would you say they have been in your life?
It would be the same thing for both.
Okay.
Meeting you.
Ouch. Okay, yeah, I need to hear an explanation on that one.
I think this isn't like a knock against you, and it's not that I don't appreciate it, having you in my life. Again, this is all like tying into this idea we're talking about is how we process our perception. I think that for a long time, I felt like having you in my life was limiting me socially because I felt like I owed you, I don't want to say necessarily my time, my loyalty, but it just like I placed a higher priority on you than I did on certain other relationships. And it was one of the things that my ex-wife and I used to butt heads about all the time. Like she just thought I should have a much more diverse group of people. And I was kind of okay just having you. Us being that wrapped up in each other, though, it did bring up a lot of tension that I think both of us at certain times could have done without.
Yep.
But, and this is like a really, really big but, all these seemingly negative things, we did use their momentum against them. We turned it into something good. It's like, okay, so looking just specifically in the context of podcasts, when we were doing the missionary position, it's like I was feeling stifled by that endeavor. And there was a season of me just getting really aggravated and punchy with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to a point where it's like, well, instead of being aggravated and punchy, I don't have to podcast only with you. I can start a separate project to get certain things out of my system, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it calmed things down where you and I came together collectively. While I still prioritize our friendship over other ones, I've also learned that just because you're a priority doesn't mean that you've got an exclusive contract on my time. I can have other friends. It doesn't take away from you.
Yeah.
If anything, these different influences feed more fresh material into our time together. I think it's actually strengthened our friendship. I mean, I think last time we sat down to chat, actually a few times recently, I've talked about how much positive I see coming out of it. So I don't want to like beat that to death. If anybody's interested in hearing me gush over you, they can listen to the entire back catalog and see if they can find what I'm talking about.
And by back catalog, means all our shows. Turn
Yes.
up the AC, missionary position, Podverse, everything.
But yeah, and really, I think the most positive thing that's come out of meeting you has been this journey of growth that we found ourselves on. It's not like there hasn't been like a lot of feel good moments, but just the overarching theme of us helping each other to grow, developing communication skills where we've actually been able to spoil each other, where we've learned how well things can work.
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe that adds a touch of negative too, because we end up getting a little bit impatient with other people who don't work according to our collective formula.
Right. Yeah, I was going to comment on that right when you were done. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I've made enough disjointed thoughts to answer your question.
Yeah, you end up making a trail there. Yeah, that worked.
Yeah, I'll throw it right back in your lap and then shut the hell up.
Well, and I'm going to say the same thing. That there's one. I'm going to say situation because it lasted 14 years, but that was my street life.
Oh, I thought you were referring to my second marriage.
I didn't say 14 days. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it was good for 14 days.
Allison, I love you. Just not very much.
Okay.
I was going to shut up, wasn't I?
Yes. I'm still waiting.
Yeah. Just go ahead and mute my mic.
Okay. So much negative came out of me being on the streets. And while I was there, there was a lot of good times that were to be had. It made, I hurt. I wanted a family. I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to have kids. In the moment, I didn't think my mom was there for me. I learned different. We have come together and hashed out all our crap. But the most negative thing that happened to me because of a life situation was feeling like I was nothing. I was a number. I was just I was a statistic. I did not have the same rights that people who had a 9 to 5 in an apartment had. Because in the 80s and 70s when this was happening, if you were on the streets, you were garbage. And that still exists. But at least now people are trying more to really help people who are on the streets. But from that, the most amazing thing happened. And this is where the negative comes from being, or the positive comes from being on the streets, is it showed me what I didn't want. That series of unpredictable events that happened that created so much negativity in my life. brought me to make a decision when my children were born, or before my children were born, that I wanted to be a dad. The one thing I wanted in my whole life was to be a dad. And I was fortunate enough to have 2 kids. And I'm saying this, but in my circumstance alone, I'm only saying this for me, the best thing in the world happened because my ex left.
Mm.
And she went and did her drugs and had her time, but I got to raise my children. Without them, they never saw conflict in the house. They never saw negative, they saw conflict, but they never saw angry, hardcore arguing with your spouse because you don't agree with the way you're raising your kids. There was no divorce to happen, so they got pulled either way. They were always allowed. They knew they were always allowed to see their mom the time they wanted to. It turned into a beautiful season of events. And by season of events, I mean their childhood until they moved out. Of knowing that I love them so much. And this was triggered because I was on the streets. Without it, the negative amplified the positive when I finally got it. And the best thing I've ever done was be a dad.
Mm.
The most rewarding thing I've done was be a dad. And, like I said, an unpredictable course of life turned into a life that I could 100% predict was going to happen because I knew what I didn't want. So I could deliberately steer it away from that.
That explains a lot about why you have always lived your life with such intent.
What do you mean?
Well, in the time I've known you, most people are content to just sort of see what life throws their way. You've always been looking at what's the next step and how do I make sure it's a positive one.
Oh, fair enough. I've tried.
Okay, so I noticed we're coming close to the end of our time-ish here today, and I saw you scribbling furiously a few times while I was on my long rants. Would it be safe to assume that you have jotted down a closing statement of some kind?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Well, nice to know you weren't listening.
So, I was listening. Dude, I'm ADHD, dude. I can do both. Okay, so my concluding statement. These instances of narrowly escaping mishaps or positive circumstances, they underscore the intricate dance of chance and timing that shapes our lives. They remind us of the delicate balance between fate and randomness, encouraging us to appreciate the safety and opportunities we have while remaining mindful of the unpredictable nature of our personal existences.
You jotted that down while I was rambling?
I finished it.
Nicely done, sir. Well, I don't really have a whole lot to add to that. So I'm just going to say thank you very, very much, everybody, for listening. If you got thoughts on this or anything else we've talked about on this podcast or any other, feel free to send us an email in thebloodpod@gmail.com. And as always,
Much love.
Dick.